Live. I'm guessing that everybody that is tuning in here knows the rules of the live stream. The rules are very simple. You just got to be at least 18. You got to make sure that you're from America, and you got to support Trump if you want to come up into the live. Okay, we have been getting so many trolls recently. It has been insane. Every day, it's just been hundreds of trolls, hundreds of liberals, hundreds of fetuses. I'm going to start banning those trolls, those liberals, those fetuses if you decide to come up here. So make sure if you are in that queue, you're actually supposed to be there, meaning that you support Trump. And by the way, we have some new material to go over as it relates to Trump. I'm sure it'll naturally come up. It sure is insane, everybody. Let me tell you that. But what's going on? Sauce, do you support Trump?
Yeah, I'm more Trump leaning.
All right, how old are you, man?
I'm 19.
19. So tell us, take it away, bro. Why would you ever support such a terrible president?
So I do agree he is a terrible person. Um, However, I just feel like one point that kind of doesn't come up, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it, is what's going on in the Middle East, because that's my ethnicity. But both parties technically, just do absolute like it's just terrible over there. But in terms of like the whole Israel Palestine situation, um, I feel like Democrats kind of just pour so much into that whole endeavor compared to Trump.
You think that Trump is better for Palestine?
Um, I think I think Trump is more like conditional about it compared to
Uh,
I don't know.
okay,
I
so
mean, you can check the statistics.
he's described himself as the most pro-Israel president that this country's ever had. And I mean, he's
So
definitely
did Biden.
demonstrated that. No, 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 no. He said that Biden was a quote unquote dirty Palestinian. So Donald Trump not only has described himself as the most pro-Israel president that we've ever had, but he's also definitely demonstrated that. Like, for instance, a big difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris was that she supported some humanitarian aid to Gaza. He supports none. And then also, he has his own little special plan where he wants the U.S. to personally go into the Gaza Strip, personally ethnically cleanse all 1.2 million Palestinians living there, personally forcefully relocate them, and personally deny them any right to return, then personally flatten the strip, personally build a Riviera, to then personally give back to Netanyahu. So if you care about Palestine, I get it. Neither of the two candidates were favorable. However, it is the case that Donald Trump was definitely the worst of two evils. And by the way, he's the worst of two evils, not just as it relates to Palestine. He's the worst of the two evils as it relates to the Congo, as it relates to Sudan, as it relates to Ukraine, and also as it relates to every single, domestic issue as well.
Okay. I just brought up, the whole Israel Palestine thing. I'm not from there, from Yemen, but basically, um, I don't, I don't know. I feel like Democrats would be doing the same thing, if not maybe, worse. But
Yeah,
you
well,
can
that's not
check the
true.
statistics. I, all right.
And
Um,
I was able to give you the specific differences to demonstrate that as well.
okay. What do you think about political officials identifying as um like Zionists when they aren't Israeli.
So I mean, I
Like
just think that this is a pivot away from your original argument. Your argument was is that Donald Trump was better for Palestine. I refuted that. I was able to demonstrate very specific reasons and very specific points why he's not only worse for Palestine, but worse for every other country in the face of this planet, including domestic policy as well. Can you please refute and or respond to that argument?
I believe that both parties are going to do the same exact thing regarding it,
Okay.
but
Well, you've repeated that claim. However, that claim, contradicts the conclusion that I was able to defend with evidence. So, can you please respond to the reasons that I gave to defend my conclusion that you're wrong? So the reason why I don't think that both parties would do the same is because there's differences in the policies and the platforms of the parties, you know? One difference is, as I already pointed out and you never addressed, that Kamala Harris supported some aid to Gaza. Donald Trump supports no aid to Gaza. That's a very clear and distinct difference. Not to mention that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden supported some restrictions on weapon and bomb shipments. For instance, they restricted bomb shipments of bombs over 4,000 pounds, as well as they reduced and capped their weapon shipments. When they did that while, Biden was president, Donald Trump whined and complained and said if he was president, this wouldn't be happening. We would be unconditionally supporting the state of Israel. Okay, so then he became president, and that's exactly what happened. He lifted all of those restrictions, and he said at a press conference in New Brunswick, New Jersey, that we would unconditionally support the country of Israel until they're able to finish the job, right? And so those are two differences. The third difference is a plan that was unique to Trump that Kamala Harris didn't have to personally ethnically cleanse all remaining Palestinians on the Gaza Strip, give them no right to return, flatten the land, build a Riviera, and then gift it to the state of Israel. So those are the four clear, distinct, and very explicit differences I could think of between MAGA and Kamala Harris that makes MAGA and Trump worse for Palestine. So could you please just simply not repeat your conclusion of saying that you think the two parties are identical again, but rather respond to the reasons that I just gave you here?
Yeah, of course. So knowing people in, uh, first of all, when was the biggest genocide of Palestinians commenced?
Okay, so
Within what
thank you.
years do you know,
Thank
to
you.
your knowledge?
Thank you so much for not responding to a single thing I just said.
I'm helping you respond.
Yeah, like the 60s, Nakba.
Okay, how about recently?
I don't know.
Okay, so let me just pull up exact statistics for you.
Are you able to respond to the reasons that I gave you or not?
So in 2022, who was president?
Biden.
Yes. And do you know how many resident deaths occurred in Palestine?
Not in the year of 2022. I know since October 7th, there's been 54,000.
Okay, so you're saying October 7th of last year,
No, of 2021.
of 2021. So do you think that Biden or Kamala really did have an actual agenda to provide aid, or do you think it was just a ploy?
So they supported some low levels of humanitarian aid to Gaza.
Low levels.
Right.
So, in other words, you're saying that, just keep doing exactly what's happening in Israel and not do anything about it.
So are you trying to convince me that they were bad for Palestine? Because if so, you don't need to convince me of that because I agree, right? My argument isn't that Biden nor Harris were good for Palestine. My argument is that Trump
Okay.
is worse, and I gave you four distinct and very clear reasons why, and you've ignored them twice.
Okay, I think you got me wrong. So I did say like Trump leaning, but what I'm trying to say is I disagree with the idea of, you know, just like Kamala's agenda regarding that.
Hey man,
Especially
why
since
why haven't like you like man? You've been on the live for 11 minutes now. I've given you my argument two times. I slowed down. I made it clear. And he left. Okay, all right, yeah, he left. Well, let's go to move on to the next guest. That guy was just simply not here for a debate. He didn't know what to say. He got stun locked and gagged when I gave him the argument why Trump was worse, and he wasn't gonna hear it out. He wasn't gonna respond. And when I was putting the heat on him, the pedal to the metal there about just having him to begging and pleading him to please respond to my counter argument. He couldn't do it. And then he finally got to like this point where he couldn't like pivot around it anymore either. So he left, unfortunately. So if you're a part of the 4.8 thousand people watching and you support Trump, let me know down below in that comment section by spamming MAGA. Make sure that you're at least 18 from America and support Trump. We'll get you up on the live. What's going on, Money Cam? Do you support Trump?
Yes.
You are under the age of 18, so I got to kick you, man. We're going to move on to the next guest. Daniel, guys, make sure that we're at least 18 years old, y'all. Echo, echo, echo.
Hi.
That is an echo, so I got to kick you and move on to the next guest, guys. I guess I should clarify, no echoes either, but there's not much that we can do about that now, can we? Yo, Gabrielle, thank you so much for the $10 over on Venmo for teaching the material of MAGA, crayons, glue, and glitter. Thank you for the $10, Gabrielle, as well as Oscar. Thank you so much for the $11.11 saying, Dean, hi. Oscar, it's good to see you in here today. You've been watching for years, and I love the 1111 donation. You've been sending that for years, Oscar. We love you here. Shout out to Oscar and Gabrielle down below in that chat. While we're getting that next Trump supporter up in the live, let us know if you do want to come up and have a conversation down below in that chat. We will invite you up here. And for the 5.8 thousand people watching, it's good to have you in here with us today. Another day of more debates with Trump supporters. What is going on, Wasted and Diamond? Do you guys support Trump, or are y'all MAGA?
I support Trump.
Okay, is that Wasted or Diamond speaking?
It's wasted here.
Okay, what about you, Diamond?
I just want to state Pride Month.
Yo, W Pride Month? Let's go. Happy Pride Month, everybody. But we are just looking to talk to Trump supporters, Diamond, so I would appreciate if you would respect that rule in the future. But W Pride Month nonetheless. Wasted, take it away. Tell us why you support Trump.
I mean, I'm a Black American, and past elections I voted Democrat, but yeah, I realized the Democratic Party, they're not doing anything like that's great for this country. I switched. I started doing my own research, and I was like, you know what, Trump's the move.
Okay, so you think that Donald Trump is better for Black Americans?
Yeah, he gave me a stimulus check.
Okay, are you trolling?
No, I'm like so serious.
Okay, what year are you born in? Real quick, because like you sound like younger. So you said that you voted.
I was born in 2006. I'm like fairly young, but I was born in 2006.
So this would have been your first election, but you said that you voted for Democrats before. So you wouldn't have voted for Democrats before because this would have been your first election.
All right, so that doesn't change anything,
Well, wait, why did you say that you voted for Democrats before?
Well, I've liked Democrats before.
You've liked Democrats before, so you like Trump because actually, wait. You didn't get a stimulus check from Donald Trump because you were still listed as dependent in 2019 and 2020 when his bill passed, meaning that you didn't get a stimulus check from Trump.
But Big Bro got a stimulus check, and
yeah, it's a second line, bro. Come on, just admit the trolling. Come on, bro.
Bro, I'm not, bro. I'm so
you
serious.
said that you voted for Democrats in prior elections. That couldn't be the case because you were born in 06. And then you said that Donald Trump gave you a stimulus check. Once again, that couldn't be the case because you were born in 06. So neither of those two things are true.
Bro, Trump be giving out them stimmies, bro. Y'all, no Democratic.
Yeah, dude's a troll. We're going to move on to the next guest. Let us know if you're MAGA down below in that comment section. We'll get you up on the live, guys. We are just looking for that next Trump supporter to come up here and debate, y'all. We're just looking for that next Trump supporter to come up here and debate. We got CJ loading in. We got Crane loading in. What's up, Crane? Do you support Trump?
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you support Trump, man?
Okay, so I'm in kind of like a pickle. So my family supports Trump, right? Like my entire family supports Trump. I like Trump, but I don't like, kind of how he moves as like a person and as a president. I think he's a little bit immature and kind of ridiculous at times. I have like some cousins that vote Democrat. We talk a lot.
Crane, I am sorry, man. I just hold a very like firm red line. So like when I first start a live, when it applies to the first guest, I'm always super like red line. Gotta be a Trump supporter. Gotta be here to debate. But Crane, I wish the very.
Well, I support Trump.
Okay,
I support Trump on like certain things like immigration and tariffs and things like that. But I also don't support him on like certain like foreign policies like when it comes to like the Palestine Israel. Yeah, I was for a little bit. He actually changed my mind on a few things.
Base. Let's go, Crane. Honestly, yeah, if Parker changed your mind on a couple things, I mean, Parker probably did everything that I could have done. We're going to move on to the next guest, everybody. If you are in the queue, make sure that you support Trump, guys. Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that chat. We will get you up here to debate. We got Carl Lover loading into the box right now. Go ahead and let me know if you're a Trump supporter down below. We will get you up here. Just simply looking for that first Trump supporter of the day. What's going on, Carl Lover? Do you support Trump?
I hate Trump.
Okay, all right. Let's go to move on to the next guest, everyone. Go ahead. Once again, let me know if you are MAGA down below in that comment section by simply dropping a MAGA accompanied by your age. Keep in mind if you're in that queue or spamming MAGA in the chat. Got to be at least
nice vape pen, bro.
It's not a vape pen. Yates, do you support Trump? It's also a child. Okay. Yeah, we're running the Democratic daycare today, everybody.
What the?
Hi, do you support Trump? They left too. All right, guys. Obviously, we need to repeat the rules. So the rules are very simple, but for whatever reason, every time I go live, people just have the most difficult time in the world following them. I swear to God, it is so fucking easy. There are only three. There's only three, guys. There's only three. There's three simple rules. Let me say them loud and clear. You got to be at least 18 years old. You have to support Donald Trump, and you have to be from America. If you fulfill, right, all three of those rules, you can come up onto the live. We can have a debate. It'll be great. It'll be awesome. All right. Now, if you don't fulfill those three rules, don't join the queue. Okay. Just don't do it. Don't join. Just stay a viewer. Hang out in the chat. Just don't join the queue. Luke, what's up? How old are you?
I'm 49.
49. And do you support Trump, man?
I do support Trump.
All right. Real quick. What year were you born in?
1976.
1976. Let me do my math real quick. Let's see.
Were you trying to verify my age or what?
Yeah, you don't sound 49 at all, but that'd make you 49. You don't sound it at all. But yeah, you tell us you support Trump. Luke, take it away. Tell us why.
Yeah, so I feel like he's supporting the new masculinity wave that's going around in America. I feel like all the guys are becoming soy boys, and he's pushing this this supremacy that's going to be good for our young generation.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that's making men in America soy boys is like the alt-right pipelines. I mean, what do you take a soy boy to be? Just like a weak man? Okay, well, I think
yeah,
everybody in those alt-right pipelines, I think they're all weak men. I think every single
Yeah.
one of them, right? So,
Yeah,
I mean,
the
if
woke-
anything, what we need is to push and affirm progressivism and liberalism and pull out all of these weak soy boy beta men out of these alt-right pipelines. We just need to get them out, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So with the Liberal Party, they're trying to turn all the men into homosexuals and not procreate, which is a big problem in America. And I feel like that.
So do you genuinely believe that?
Of course, I believe. I see it with my own eyes.
Okay, so you can't just like turn somebody gay? It's not
Well,
how
yeah,
it works.
obviously they're pushing this propaganda on our children, right? So
Wait, you
I feel like
you
that's
just said that you were obviously wrong. So you said that the Democratic Party was trying to turn men gay, and then you said, in response to me saying that you can't just turn gay, you said obviously. So in other words, you said that they obviously can't do that.
well, they're pushing an agenda of propaganda on our children by forcing this LGBTQ on our children. This
Okay,
wokeness.
how do liberals force the LGBTQ on our children?
Absolutely, by implementing it in our children's curriculum.
Okay, what's the
Also,
curriculum that forces LGBTQ on the children?
absolutely. So they're bringing in drag queens and all type of nonsense to the schools and
Having a
teaching.
drag
Like for
queen
example, right now it's
to
Pride Month. I feel like
read a
that's.
book, to read a
Say it
book.
again.
So drag queens reading books.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's appropriate
So
for our
do you feel
children.
like
I feel
having-
like you guys
do-
are trying to
do you-
distort our children.
Do you feel like having like 35-year-old cis straight white men reading books to children is forcing straightness on them?
They're not even teachers. That's the issue.
Well, you have somebody come in that's not a teacher, like somebody's dad, to read a book to the kids.
What's
It's
the
a
purpose of bringing a
35-year-old.
drag queen?
Are you ready to listen to me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, son.
Okay, I don't believe that you're 49, so I'm gonna go to move on to the next guest.
Uh,
If you're watching the live, let us know. We will pull you up here. The guy was very obviously not 49. So we're gonna get that next guest up in the live literally right now. Go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that chat if you do want to join. Alexis, what's going on? Are you MAGA?
Yes. Hi.
Ooh, hi, how old are you?
18.
FAU University. That's cool. Okay, yeah, I trust that you're 18.
Oh.
Tell us, so why the hell are you MAGA?
I was kind of just born and raised in a MAGA household, and I voted for Donald Trump this year, and I kind of do believe in the Donald Trump.
Okay, all right. So why? Okay, because just saying that you were born and raised in it, that doesn't really give me much. I mean, sure, that tells me what the conditions have been for you to be socialized into the false beliefs, but like, why do you think Donald Trump is a good president? Can you name any specifics about him?
Yeah. So, I was just like hearing and reading and watching the news about and listening to my parents talk about just the whole thing with illegal immigrants coming into our country.
Yeah,
whole
yeah. I know
situation.
the boogeyman, undocumented immigrants. I mean, just terrible. I tell you. I mean, only like 2.5 times less likely to commit violent crimes. Super terrible. Only pay $300 billion into the GDP and pay $100 billion per year in taxes and strengthen American industries. So bad, terrible. Truly. Go ahead.
I don't think the immigration part is bad now. I just wish, I think of all people, I feel like Donald Trump could filter it out to where the illegal immigrants could be filtered out that are dangerous.
Oh, okay. So you just want less dangerous people in our country. Well, the way to get there is probably not to elect a dangerous man as president. He's been held civilly liable for rape. He's admitted to perving on naked teenagers while they're changing. He's hit on a 10-year-old girl. He sexualized his own child. And yesterday, I think that he demonstrated that his delusions make him dangerous. Yeah, I mean, shit. He literally like shared an article about how Biden was executed in 2020, then replaced with a robotic clone. Right? Like, I don't think that this incompetent Delulu fairy tale rapist fellow is, gonna do
How are
much
you
to.
going from immigrants to clones to?
Well, I'm just simply pointing
Your
out that if you want
conversation
less
is just
dangerous, if you want less dangerous people in America, you shouldn't have elected the delusional, dangerous person to get it done.
Well, I also just don't like the push of I guess what that last guy said, kind of, but not really. Just like the whole left side kind of just pushes this, like, oh, we need men in our bathrooms. They need to be able to feel included in the women bathrooms if they're trans. Like,
Okay, all right. Well, hey, listen, I think trans women are women, and I think that it is actually a pretty common sense view to say that trans women should be able to use a women's restroom. Could I tell you why?
why?
Because I think it makes all women, cis and trans, safer. Because imagine this. Do you know, so trans men are biological females, right? So if you were to say that we should segregate the restrooms on the basis of sex, this means that trans men, under your view, should be using the women's restroom. However, the effect that testosterone has on anybody is insane, right? So you look at a trans man that's undergone HRT, they could look identical to or even significantly more masculine than cis men. And when you say that trans men should be using women's spaces, going into women's restroom merely because they're female, you're just opening up the door as wide as possible to say that any cis man can lie, call themselves a trans man, and take advantage of cis women in the space. So, I mean, I just think that women are safer if we segregate the restrooms on the basis of gender identity, excluding trans men, than segregating the restrooms on the basis of sex, including trans men.
I just think my whole point is, why should we allow? Because I agree. If you say you're a trans woman, you're a woman. Okay, trans men, like, if whatever you want to be, like, fine, that's fine. I just think, what's the point of letting the restroom situation collide?
I just told you, because it makes
Sports
women
collide.
it makes women safer, like in the restrooms. Like I think like
How does that make women safer when men lie that they're trans and then they go and they rape the women inside of the bathroom?
So yeah, basically, if you say that trans men should be able to use this space, you are allowing more masculine presenting individuals to enter into the space, because trans men are more masculine presenting on average compared to trans women. So it's easier for a cis man to lie and say that they're a trans man compared to a cis man lying and saying that they're a trans woman. So you're basically going to have a door that is wider open and makes it easier for cis men to lie and take advantage of women in the space if you segregate it on the basis of sex compared to gender identity.
Okay.
Right? Like seriously, I actually do think that the view that trans women should use a women's restroom is something that I believe full-heartedly and is in the best interests of all women, including cis women. You know, it's a reality that trans women exist regardless if you like it or not. It's a reality that trans men exist regardless if you like it or not. It's a reality that trans men can be identical or more masculine presenting than cis men. Okay, and it's a reality that trans men are more masculine presenting on average than trans women, meaning that if you segregate the restrooms on the basis of sex, it's a reality that you're only allowing more masculine presenting individuals to enter into the space, okay? And that's a reality that I don't like. I think that's a reality that puts women in more harm's way, and I think that we could reduce the likelihood of harm caused towards women by shitty cis men in the women's restroom by segregating the restrooms on the basis of gender identity.
So is this the same with men, biological men that are trans women going into women's sports?
Now you want to pivot to sports. So you didn't give me a counter argument against trans women using the women's restroom there. You just simply moved
I
on.
did. I told you that trans women, fine, they whatever, like, they're trans women, but I don't think they should be welcomed into the women's restroom because of the one. I don't have children, but if I did have children, I would be scared a man would lie and
yeah.
go into the bathroom.
So I've responded to this twice. In fact, the first time I
That's
responded
what
to
was
this.
my counter argument in the first place.
So
that
my
was
argument
whole-
actually accounted for this. Can you repeat my argument? So you can't.
You said
you can't
that
repeat my
women
argument.
would feel safer and the trans women would feel safer by going into the women's bathroom. How can you prove that? Like,
You can't repeat my argument. Here, how about
I
this? I have
literally
a better idea.
don't.
I have a better idea, Alexis. What percentage of the population is trans?
I don't know. Please tell me.
0.1%. So please tell me why the reason why you support the fascist, lunatic, adjudicated rapist felon that himself has perved on. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's go there first. If a cis man did do this, walked into a woman's restroom or changing room, and took advantage of women in the space, or at least like perved on naked women or teenagers in that space, you think that's really bad and morally reprehensible, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think the consequences should be if a man were to do that?
To go into a woman's bathroom and lie.
Yeah, or like a woman's changing room and like perv on them while they were naked. Like, what do you think the consequences should be for a man that does that?
Jail.
How much?
We're
We're starting the live on YouTube, by the way, guys.
What?
Hi, welcome in for everybody tuning in on the YouTube stream. It's so good to have you in here with us today. We are already in the middle of our first debate with the first Trump supporter of the day. Their name is Alexis. I'm going to go ahead and catch you guys up to speed. Then we're going to roll the clip if you know what I mean. So Alexis is having a conversation with us about how she would feel if a man were to walk into a woman's or teenage girl's changing room to perv on them while they're naked and what the consequences should be. So just to clarify, I mean, how long do you think, because you said that a man, if they were to perv on changing naked teenagers without their consent, they should go to jail. How long do you think they should go to jail for?
Pretty long time.
Pretty long time, okay. So I have a question. So what if a man did this and he got away with it and then he ran for a public office? Like maybe he wanted to be a congressman, a senator, or even like the president. Would you ever vote for them?
I can see where you're pulling this conversation.
Well, I'm just asking you if a man ever did this. I mean, walked into the changing room of naked teenagers, talked about how good they looked, and boasted about how no men were in there and how they could get away with it. Would you ever vote for them if they turned around and ran for a public office?
So, on this thing about Donald Trump being an alleged.
Oh, Donald Trump hasn't done this. He's a good man. He would never do this. This is purely hypothetical.
Well, you said this in your last thing with that.
You probably misheard me.
Okay.
Right. So if somebody did do this and ran for a public office, would you ever vote for them? Would you ever support them?
No.
No. Okay. Under any conditions ever?
I mean, if it was proved and true.
Yeah. Even if it was Trump.
I can already hear what you're telling me, but I heard about this, but I don't know if it's confirmed. I just feel like Biden has done so much more.
Think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with the vagina. And
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
so you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
My prediction is that you'll walk back on the claim that you made 45 seconds ago, and you'll find some way to still justify supporting Trump, even though he just admitted to doing something that you said if he did do, you would stop supporting him. What are your thoughts?
How is that? What does that prove?
That proves that he walked into the changing rooms of teens and women where there's no men around while they were naked without any clothes on, getting dressed, and he would look at them and see how good they look, and he could get away with it since he owned the pageant.
So, what'd you say, I just feel like this isn't how these are just words that he's saying.
Yeah, they
how is
they
this
were
proven
words
that this actually happened
because he said he did it.
Because he said he did it,
Yeah.
allegedly,
Okay.
Just
So he said that he did it. It's not. I want to clarify. It's not allegedly. He admitted to it. I mean, like, you know, there's this one quote from Trump where he says he could walk up and shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and his supporters would still support him. And I mean, I think that you're kind of proving that right now. He stared you in the face. He said, "My name is Donald Trump, and I have perved on naked teenagers in their dressing rooms, and I got away with it." And guess what? You're still letting him get away with it right now, okay? That last sentence he said in that clip is, "and I could get away with things like that." He sure as hell can if people like you exist. If people like you can listen to him say that he's done these things and listen to him say that he could get away with doing these things and then still let him get away with it by saying that it's not confirmed. Like, dude, oh my gosh, man. I can't believe it. Lariasa, thank you for the galaxy.
So you're telling me that all the other political machines, not Trump, because we already talked about Trump, obviously you think Trump is crazy. They're not. Joe Biden isn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, how about we talk about like the candidate that he ran against that could have been our president right now if you decided to vote for the better person. Kamala Harris has never done this. That's right. I mean, yeah, for sure. Could you please go ahead and tell me how this is something Kamala Harris has done? I'd love to hear you out. You know, I got open ears. Okay. You know, I would love for you to do a comparative analysis on Donald Trump and Kamala Harris and demonstrate to us how Kamala Harris is worse than the adjudicated rapist that admitted to perving on naked teenagers.
Wasn't Kamala Harris on the Diddy list?
No.
Can you pull that up for me?
So I don't have to prove your claim false. You'd actually have to prove your claim true.
Right.
But if she was on the Diddy list, she'd be in court right now. Right. So you're kind of talking out of your ass.
Kamala's team has spent more than $5 billion having images of her with Sean P. Diddy combs bleached from the internet. It would be such a shame if this made the rounds.
Okay, well, I'm not willing to believe that they spent $5 billion to remove pictures on the internet. You could do that for a couple hundred. And if they did do that, I'd support it. You know, like, isn't that a good thing? She was like loosely associated with him. Would you allow me to finish speaking?
Sorry.
Like if she did know Diddy before Diddy became a bad person and didn't know that Diddy was a bad person or would become a bad person, and there was a handful of pictures of them two together, like it's probably like a good thing to try to remove all the pictures of you with them, so then it doesn't promote the message that Diddy is somehow a good person. But I mean, I've never seen a picture of the two together. But you know what Donald Trump has to say about Diddy?
What?
Have you never heard about how Donald Trump and Diddy used to be real good friends back in the day? You've never heard about that?
No, please tell me.
No, I mean, shit. Even like 2 days ago, he said that he'd consider pardoning him. You said you didn't hear that one?
No.
Let's see here. Well, I'm struggling to find the clip off of The Apprentice where Donald Trump is like, "I like Diddy. He's a good friend of mine. Diddy's a good guy. Diddy's a good friend of mine." Because now all the clips that are showing up are of him like talking 2 days ago about pardoning him. So Donald Trump was a good friend of Diddy. Right. Can you tell us the worst thing that oh, wait, here it is. Did I find it? Yep, I found it. Here it is.
And focused businesswoman, because working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy?
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. That one's never been wider. I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy. Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that question.
Oh, well, I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Shut up, Zach. How do you feel about that, Alexis? Oh my God! It's like even worse because he's like debating like a woman on it. The woman's like, I'm not gonna tell you that I think that I'm not gonna answer that. I'm not gonna tell you I think that he's a good. And then he's like, oh, well, I love Diddy. I love him. I think that he's great. I think he's a great guy. You know, I just love Diddy so much. Yeah. Maybe Donald Trump should have spent some money wiping that off of the internet, because I mean, that's brutal.
Okay.
You said, Alexis, you sound defeated. Have I been too hard on you?
No, sometimes I just feel like Donald Trump isn't all that serious.
Oh, yeah, he was memeing, he was joking. False alarm, everybody. False alarm, guys. When Donald Trump says something that's just, like, absolutely indefensible, don't worry, he's just trolling the liberals. Wow, what a cope.
But I mean, like, there's a reason he won the election, right? Because he's a good president, right?
Yeah,
Like, he's
yeah.
leading us back into what
So,
Biden put us in, right?
oh,
What
wait,
about
you thought that
what about
Biden was a good, you thought that Biden was a good president too, right?
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, but
yeah?
isn't there also a reason he won the 2020 election?
Yeah, that's a whole conspiracy, though, and I don't want to get into that.
Oh, okay, so, yeah,
Biden
okay.
kind of ruined everything.
Okay, well, Biden ruined everything. Sure. What's one thing he ruined?
I don't think that's right, Ellie. The whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Dangerous
Dangerous is a word. So what's one thing Biden ruined?
What?
What's one thing? So you told us that Biden ruined like everything. What's one thing that he ruined?
Inflation.
Oh, Biden caused inflation. Now, why would you think this? Because there was a lot of inflation under his presidency?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, as soon as Biden gets into office, everything just starts going downhill in our country.
Oh,
And
that's
the
actually...
prices and just every...
Right. Well, we can't
Right.
say just because something happens in the country that the president caused it. We can't say that. I feel like that's unfair. Like, how unfair would it be for me to blame the highest level of unemployment in the last 100 years on Trump just because it happened under his term in April of 2020?
How many jobs did Trump say he created and opened for people?
Well, I mean, actually, if we want to do the whole baseless association, blame whatever happens in the country and the president thing, there was a total net loss in jobs under his first term. I guess that's Trump's fault too, if you think about it, according to your logic. See how I could do the same thing that you're doing? Just, oh, inflation happened in America, Biden was president, must have been his fault. Let's look at what happened in America while Trump was president. COVID happened, must have been his fault. Net loss in jobs happened, must have been his fault. Highest level of unemployment since the Great Depression, 14.8% April of 2020, must have been Trump's fault. See how that's super unfair logic to use? Now, the next question that you may ask is, well, Dean, if that's unfair logic, if that's bad reasoning, what is good reasoning? Well, if you want to blame something that happened in America on the president, you got to describe how, right? So maybe like when I blame the fact that we had negative GDP growth in the first quarter of this year on Trump, okay, I describe how by simply pointing out that his tariffs caused a massive surge in imports, meaning that companies were spending less money in the American markets, and his tariffs decreased consumer confidence, meaning that consumers were spending less money in American markets, so the GDP went down. Now, I'll ask you to do the same thing for Biden, and as it relates to inflation, like what did Biden do to cause that inflation?
Just speaking on Biden in general, since we're on the topic of Biden now, what happened with all that tax-paying money that we had, that Biden, what was it? He didn't, it was just wasn't used properly and it was all wasted.
Oh, he wasted a bunch of taxpayers' dollars. Okay, how much did he spend under his 4 years? Non-COVID related debt signed into law. How much did he spend?
Do you know?
I do, $2.2 trillion. If you ask me what my source is, I'll tell you it's the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the CRFB. $2.2 trillion. That is the total amount of every dollar spent related to the American debt by Biden in 4 years, not related to the pandemic. Now, are you ready for a zinger?
Yep.
How long has Trump been in office? Little over 100 days. And what is his one semi-accomplishment so far? Getting the big, beautiful bill passed through the House. If that big, beautiful bill passes through the Senate, you want to know how much new debt-related spending is going to be signed into law?
What?
$3.8 trillion. Wow. Trump is going to spend more money with one bill than every penny spent by Biden in the last 4 years. So if we want to talk about wasteful spending, I'm not so sure that Biden should be your number one enemy here.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's going to better cause because I know a lot of the taxpayer money
It's
was
going
going
to
towards like
better cause. Okay.
yeah, there was a few things that taxpayer dollars were going to, similar to like there was money going into why there's holes in cheese. There's a whole thing of taxpayer money going into that. That is a useless study, in my opinion. You said what?
Based? I want to know why there's holes in cheese.
Do you want to pay for it with your tax money?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been quiet the whole time. But
No, I think that we need to pay more. We need to figure out why there's holes in cheese.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic.
Well, how much did that cost?
I don't remember, but I do know.
Come on, like what? A couple
every
million? Listen, a couple million?
Every penny counts is the thing. I know
Every penny does count. And if our government's spending a couple $1 million on trying to determine why there's holes in cheese, okay, like what the fuck? Get rid of it. Okay? Like, yeah, I can agree that's weird. Now listen. Though.
Yeah, okay, so we agree on that.
No. I need you to listen to me without interrupting me. So, yeah, we could agree that if there's a couple million spent on trying to determine why there's holes in cheese, like what the fuck? Get rid of it. But I think you also need to keep in mind that Donald Trump spent $144 million on golfing at Mar-a-Lago in his first 4 years. More than I'm not done yet. Please don't interrupt me. Spending more than trying to determine why there's holes in cheese. And then guess what? 3.8 trillion is significantly more than a handful of million. And I would say that we would almost be better to spend this $3.8 trillion on trying to figure out why there's holes in cheese than on the big, beautiful bill, because at least spending it on figuring out why there's holes in cheese won't cut $1.2 trillion from Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security over the next 10 years. Okay? If we spent the $3.8 trillion on figuring out why there's holes in cheese, well, that wouldn't reduce the after-tax income for 80% of income earners in America, like the big, beautiful bill will, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Right? So honestly, I'd actually argue that every dollar spent on trying to figure out why there's holes in cheese is better spent than every dollar that will be spent on the big, beautiful bill.
So with that logic, our taxpayer money should be going to completely stupid researches, because it's better than spending more money on a bill that is arguably more important than holes on cheese. So you'd want to send a lot of money.
How could you say that decreasing your after-tax income and spending $3.8 trillion to do it is a better cause than further researching holes in cheese?
Well, because it's going to every American. You see, I'm helping better the country. Let me finish. I'll let you finish. Let me finish. It's helping better the country because different races and genders, but we're all American.
Dude, I don't know if you just didn't listen to what I said. Does it make the country better or does it make the country worse when we take money away from 80% of Americans?
I see where you're coming from.
Because keep in mind, my claim is that the big, beautiful bill reduces the after-tax income for 80% of Americans and just does it disproportionately. So the less money you make, the lower your after-tax income will be. My source is the Center on Policy and Budget Priorities, right? 80% of Americans will have a lower after-tax income because of the big, beautiful bill, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities.
Yes.
So that's a bad thing, right?
Kinda. I also don't like.
What the hell? This is like the worst economic policy ever proposed to Congress. They want to spend almost $4 trillion to make you make less. How is that a good idea? How is that kind of a... Wait. So you said that's kind of a bad idea. So this means that you think there's some upsides to it. Give me one upside of spending $4 trillion to make you make less.
Well, so... I can't think of one, so you did beat me on that point.
So it's just terrible. It's bad. It's
not terrible.
Why wouldn't you say that's terrible? Name an economic policy that's worse. Seriously, that's ever passed in this country. Name a worse economic policy that's ever passed than spending $4 trillion to make you make less.
This wasn't an economic policy, but
the big beautiful bill is definitely an economic policy.
I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about...
Well, I am. You're telling me that it's not terrible. Name a worse economic policy.
Now, I'm giving you a parallel.
Sure.
Under the Biden administration, there was 4 million Social Security card numbers given out to illegal immigrants. That is horrible for economics. When you have illegal immigrants coming in here and getting not 401ks, Social Security.
Who is giving them the Social Security numbers?
I cannot remember. It was a Doge report. You can fact check me on that. It was a report.
So was our government giving them Social Security numbers?
Yes, it was the Biden administration. Okay. 4 years that Biden was in office.
For sure.
There was
for sure. What's your evidence?
Look it up right now.
Well,
You can fact
well,
check me.
we do hold to MLA citation standards on this live. I don't expect anything more out of you that your 11th grade English teacher would have. I just simply ask you for the publisher, a title of an article. You give me the source. I could fact check you as soon as you give it to me. That works. Okay, well, it looks like he's maybe on pause finding that source. So it's back to you, Alexis.
Hey.
Hi. So do you have any more reasons to like Trump?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. Just another thing. I just really appreciate his military assistance when it comes to just like soldiers or like people who are trapped in other countries, whereas Biden did not. Like, what was it? What was it? The embargo? Yeah.
What?
That.
What are you saying? I don't know what you're saying. Does anybody know what she's saying? Because I don't. Do you know what she's saying, Zach? Because I don't know what she's saying. Do you, Zach?
I would not like to comment.
It doesn't seem like Zach knows what you're saying either. Would you like to try to repeat that?
Joe Biden withheld sending weapons to Israel, I think
he did.
Oh wait, I know. I think I know what she's trying to say.
So he did place. He did at the end of his presidency. They did place a weapons embargo in Israel. And you know what my thoughts on that are?
What?
It was too damn late. Should have been done a whole lot sooner. I have a question. How many arrest warrants does the ICJ, the International Crimes Court, Crimes and Justice Court, have out for the arrests of the leader of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu?
What?
2. They have 2 out. He's a war criminal. He's killed like 54,000 innocent Palestinian men, women, and babies and children. And I mean, that doesn't include like the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians that have been ethnically cleansed. They're forced to relocate because their homes have been turned into rubble. I mean, why would we want to give them more weapons?
Right.
Right, you know, common sense type shit. Oh my god! Holy shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my, dude! Oh my shit, dude! I'm so sorry. I gotta thank somebody real quick. Christian with the $1,000 donation over on PayPal. Holy fuck! What the fuck? Yo, bro, dude, if you put an extra 0 there, man, I'm not gonna play. If you put like 2 extra zeros there, just let me know. I can send that back. That is good googly moogly. That is way too much damn money. Oh my god. If you're watching this stream right now, can you please show some love to Mr. Christian in the live comment sections of the stream? I do not deserve that. I sure as hell do not deserve that, Christian. That is, I mean, I do these lives for 4 hours a day. I like that has to be one of the first. Oh my dude, Christian. Okay, well, let's read off his message. Christian says, after you ended your stream yesterday, I found a bunch of videos of you supporting gay rights with both scientific and empathetic language. As the world is getting much scarier, it felt incredibly soothing and amazing to hear a straight guy supporting gay rights in that way. This represents the appreciation for those videos. Thank you. Christian, we love you here. That is by far one of the craziest donations I've ever received. I want everybody to show some love to Christian in the live chats while we hop into these debates. I mean, like, I'm about to refocus Alexis and Zach here, but just continue to fucking spam W Christians down below in those chats. Thank you so much, man. But anyways, Zach and Alexis, take it away. Thank you, Christian.
So I do have one question, because this is the kind of thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I have my stance on it, and I'm kind of curious on like your complete stance on it, because I don't know if I'm in the right on it, you know, and it's the immigration policy with the illegal immigrants, because I am for legal immigration. I think that betters every country. But I'm just curious on, do you support illegal immigrants coming into America?
No,
And
so I actually don't support undocumented immigration into America. And it's because I don't support undocumented immigration into America that I think we need to completely rebolster immigration systems and reform them and almost
oh yeah,
like flip them on their head. And what I mean by that is I think that we should have as many legal ports of entry into America as possible that allow as many individuals to legally migrate into America as possible, only screening out individuals for prior violent offenses. So if we do that, then we will naturally remove all incentive for undocumented entry into this country. The ultimate cause of undocumented immigration is going to be an unattainability of legal means of entry, meaning that they take too long, they're too expensive, and they're too slow. So if we completely remove that incentive by making legal entry incredibly easy and incredibly efficient and incredibly attainable, then we will see no undocumented entry into America.
so would you say it's so you are for background checking immigrants coming into the country, correct?
Yeah, for sure. And I actually want to
Okay.
ask you a question
So
about that. So if we did a background check of a legal immigrant coming in, and we figured out that they'd been held civilly liable for raping a woman, do you think that they should be allowed to come into our? Do you think that they should be legally allowed to come into America?
no, I think
No.
it should.
They should be
I think we
turned
should have a
around.
zero tolerance on that
Okay.
personally.
Do you think it should be harder to become a citizen or to become a president?
So that's a good question. My thing, I think it is technically harder to become a president because of
Do you agree with that? Like, do you think that like every citizen is qualified to be the president, or there's like additional
every
qualifications on top
American
of that?
born citizen is. I think every
What?
American born
Wait,
citizen
wait.
without.
So you're on TikTok. Do you know who Josh Block is?
I do not. I'm not on
Okay.
TikTok
Do,
much.
do you know who Daniel Larson is?
I think I've heard the name a few times.
No. Okay. What about like? Okay. Do you think that you're qualified to run the country right now?
Not right now. No, I have to go through. I think that the reason we have the age
Do you think that every 35-year-old American is qualified to be president?
No, that's why we have the election. I mean,
right. Like
whenever you have the
so obviously, like you think it should be harder to become president than it is to become a citizen, right?
it already is harder.
But you
I
agree with
think.
that? I'm not asking you what is the case. I'm asking if you agree with it.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay, so if it should be harder
With the
to
knowledge
become,
I have of it,
if
yes.
it should be harder to become the president than to become a citizen, and you think that you shouldn't be able to become a citizen if you're held civilly liable for raping a woman, this would also imply that you don't think you should be able to become president if you're civilly liable for raping a woman, right?
Are you talking about Trump's the do I have to say grape because of guidelines?
Donald Trump wasn't. No, Donald Trump's a good man. We're not talking about him. I'm just saying, like, theoretically, hypothetically, you said that if you're held civilly liable for raping a woman, you shouldn't be able to become a citizen. So it would like be logically implied there that if you're held civilly liable for raping a woman, you shouldn't be able to become a president either, right?
Yes, I can agree with that.
Okay, well, I
Stop,
lied. So
Zach.
Donald Trump has been held civilly liable for.
It was actually a fake
raping
report. The
woman.
woman that claimed that he raped her, or raped myself, I'm sorry. Actually, she could not date the year, the day, the month. All she could remember that was it. It was in a closet I think it was a penny store. It could have been somewhere else, but she could not even date the year it happened. Okay, but she claims he raped him.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, everything that you just said was wrong. So first you said that she couldn't date the year it happened. That's not true. 1996. Then you said that it happened in a closet. That's not true. It happened in a changing room. And then you said it was at a penny store. No, it was at a designer retail store. So
Yeah,
nearly
I knew it was at a
everything
retail store.
that you just said was wrong.
Or actually, no, it was on later.
Can
It was
we
later
agree
interviews that she was able to claim that. After it, when she first claimed it happened, she couldn't give the details. I think it was a documentary on Netflix that came out.
Also
It was
wrong.
whenever she started to actually give out the details.
That's also wrong. She wrote
No.
about it in a book in 2019, not a Netflix
2019.
documentary.
You just proved my point. In later interviews and documentation of her trying to document it. It was
So
not
she
until
started
2019.
talking about it. Yeah, she didn't.
And
come
she
out
also
about
didn't talk about it until he
23
started running
years
for
later.
president. Make that make sense.
She
If
ran
someone
for
were to
president in
rape you,
2015.
exactly.
She
It was
came out
after his
about it in
presidency.
2019.
It was whenever he switched from, because he was a Democrat when he was just a celebrity. He was, because I can't remember which president he was very good friends with, if it wasn't president, but he was on the Democratic side. It was not until he switched to the Republican side that Oh my gosh, we have
To the
all of these
Republican
rape
side.
cases
So
coming
do you know
out.
when he left the Democratic Party?
I do not know the exact date.
2001. He ran as an independent candidate for president in 2001. So you're saying that it
Independent.
wasn't until he left the Democratic Party that people started shitting on. Dude, he left the Democratic Party in 2001. All
When did
right.
he join the Republican Party?
I don't know when he joined the Republican Party, but it's not
Well,
relevant
exactly,
because he left the
because it was
Democrat
not
Party
until
in
he switched sides.
2001.
Democrat. It's not. It's until he switched sides
So
to.
I just want to clarify. So you're saying that basically she was a liar and she lied about this because you became a Republican?
Yes, and if
Okay,
it
well-
did happen, why is she not pressed charges?
So let me ask you.
If it actually happened, where's the charges that she is pressed?
So she
I
actually
agree
held
with
him liable for raping her in a court of law.
Then why is he not in jail? If it actually happened, why is it not in jail?
Okay, so you obviously know nothing about our criminal justice system. I'll educate you because I'm a nice guy. So when you're held liable for something, that means that charges, quote unquote, were pursued in a civil court of law. Civil courts do not determine criminal responsibility, i.e., they don't send people to jail. They determine financial responsibility, i.e., he owes her $70 million. So when you ask the question, why is he not in jail if she took him to court? Well, she took him to civil court because there's a statute of limitations in which had passed, meaning that in the state of New York, she was ineligible to bring him to criminal court. Now, I want to point out here that you said that it couldn't be true because she waited so many years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, 60% of rape victims never report the instance to the authority in their lifetime. So why are you victim blaming a woman that waited 23 years?
So, number one, I do have one thing to add. I do think a lot of the rape accusations that go on, I think that I'm not saying all of them are false because I think that it is a
Can we
huge
clear
problem in
up your
America.
language? It's
Let me
it's not an accusation, it's a proven claim.
Oh my goodness. Well, I do think that. Oh, we lost Alexis. I do think it is a huge problem in America involving the rape things. I think it's a horrible, horrible problem. But involving her only wanting money out of him, I would have a theory. This is not.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my
So
thing
the
is,
theory is because she took him to civil court and she got money. That means that she was lying and only in it for the money.
yes. So why would
at
she?
the
Why would
same-
she want the person that raped her to be able to run the country?
Could you please
Okay.
allow me to finish speaking here?
You didn't allow me to, but I will let you.
Well, I mean, you don't really seem to care too much about consent. So, I mean, I guess I don't have too much of a qualm.
Hold
with
on, hold on.
interrupting
Excuse me?
you. You don't seem to
Excuse
care
me?
too much about consent.
No, I do think that rape is a horrible thing, and I actually have a friend that was raped, and the amount of mental trauma that comes with that is horrible. It is an awful thing to happen. I can agree with you.
Well,
Rape
then you
is
shouldn't be basically victim blaming a woman that got raped, was able to prove her rapist guilty with a unanimous 9-0 decision in court, and then deny it with no reason. Like, I'll show you that you're a victim blamer with no real reason to deny the claim that Donald Trump raped Eugene Carroll. So can we agree, like, regardless of like what her motivations were in falsely accusing Donald Trump, if she was falsely accusing Donald Trump, all that this would mean is that unanimous 9-0 jury that ruled he was guilty guilty without enough evidence, right?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
Right. So in other words, the only way you could really know that he was innocent and she was falsely accusing him is if you examine the evidence that she submitted to the court and determined if it was sufficient or insufficient. So I'm guessing, since you're coming out of the gate swinging with such harsh, compelling, and confident claims of his innocence, you've obviously read the evidence in the court documents that the jury used to determine his guilt. So can you name one piece of evidence that she submitted to the jury that they then used to hold Trump liable?
No, could you? Because I'm at the moment reconsidering what I said earlier.
Right, exactly. You can't name a piece of evidence, right? And that's
No,
the
I'm
issue.
asking. Could you tell me?
For sure, we
I'm
could,
not-
we could
Yeah,
go
okay.
over the evidence together. And in fact, even after I go over the evidence with you, I just direct you to the court documents because those 93 pages will be able to describe it better than I ever could, right? But I just want it to be very clear that unless you are rejecting and critiquing the evidence that was set forth in that civil court that the jury used to hold him liable, you're just victim blaming her. You know, like when you say things like, "Oh, well, I just know that she was falsely accusing him without looking at the evidence because she waited 23 years." That's victim blaming her. Okay, it's
you
very
define victim
plausible
blaming?
that she could have
'Cause I-
waited 20. But you're basically saying that it's her fault and that she's a liar, that she's a bad person, not the
Oh
rapist.
no, I don't. I don't think it's her fault for the whole thing happening. I will say though, listening to a bunch of things that a bunch of people have said about it, I could name one. You're not gonna like him, but Charlie Kirk. I know that you and him have like a. I want to see the debate personally, but I did hear him talk a lot about it, and he did give some sources that I have to look back at too. I didn't know I was debating you. I woke up.
Charlie Kirk gives arguments just like you do. I think like the most recent argument I heard from Charlie Kirk is that why would he rape her if he is a billionaire with a supermodel wife and she's ugly? That's seriously an argument he's run. Are you sure that he's a good source of reason here? I'm not. I'm not super convinced that like Charlie Kirk is this intellectual titan that is a force that should be reckoned with and believed unilaterally without any type of pushback, rejection, or second thought.
No, I don't want to talk to him. I was just bringing him up from where I got all this stuff, but I want to know if I'm wrong on this rape case. I want you to tell me
for sure.
Facts.
Right.
I'm not here to.
I mean, the facts of the matter is that there was therapist notes from the 90s where she indicated that she was raped by Trump. The therapist notes aligned with her own testimony as well as the testimony of 7 others. Not to mention, she even had the dress that she claimed she was raped in by Donald Trump, and she claimed that Donald Trump's DNA was on it. So then the court took the dress. The court tested it for DNA. They found male DNA just like they said they would. And then they turned around and they were like, Donald Trump, okay,
yes.
Look at this dress. It has male DNA on it. She said it was yours. Would you be able to give us your DNA so we could test it against the DNA on the dress? And Donald Trump said no. Donald Trump said he wouldn't submit his DNA to the court. Donald Trump contested. He said, I have the legal right to reject giving you my DNA, so I'm not going to do it. That sounds like something a guilty man would do. Like, imagine that you are sober and you're pulled over by a cop when you're driving and they suspect you of a DUI and they say, all you got to do is blow in this breathalyzer. Would you do it?
I mean, if I'm sober, yeah, I'd do it.
Obviously, you prove your innocence, you continue on with your day. But now, if you actually are drunk driving and you get pulled over by a cop suspected of a DUI, are you going to be blown into that breathalyzer?
If I'm not sober, probably not.
Exactly. Yeah. So if Donald Trump is innocent, he didn't rape E. Jean Carroll. It's not his DNA on the dress. The judge is like, give me your DNA. E. Jean Carroll says your DNA is on this dress from the day that you raped her. If you're innocent, okay, you're probably going to submit your DNA. If you're guilty, you're probably not going to submit your DNA. And so on top of all the evidence that I went over, I mean, this is a very compelling, this is a very compelling thing that Donald Trump did, in which I believe demonstrates his guilt.
Okay, yeah. You changed my mind on that. Like before I get off of this, I just want to say this. Like, I think a big problem with debates nowadays is that people don't debate to understand the truth. They debate to just beat the other person. You know what I mean? And
yeah, for sure, I do know.
Like I see it a lot. I've seen a few of your live streams. And I was only on here to talk about immigration because I didn't know your stance on it. But I don't know how I got on this rape case. Yeah. But Zach, I'll definitely do a lot more research.
I appreciate you for being significantly more open-minded than the average person I have up here.
Okay, well, I'm not. I would rather. I want to know the truth. Not live a lie and be over here voting for someone who.
Yeah,
doing crap like that.
And I think that that's very respectable of you. I think that the seeds have been planted. Go do your own research, man. Good for you, and that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming up here with an open-minded attitude. I seriously do really appreciate that, Zach.
Real quick though, this is one thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this on here, but could I understand your viewpoint on Christianity?
Well, sure. I'll give you a quick synopsis, and then I'm going to move on. But I'll give you a quick synopsis because you just demonstrated an open-minded attitude. But I guess I'll just sum it up in a couple sentences. So my thoughts on Christianity are as follows. So first and foremost, I think that it's inherently faith-based belief. I don't think there's any evidence or reason to justify that Christianity is true. In fact, in the last couple of years of research, I think that there's more reason and more evidence to disprove and refute Christianity because I think that it's logically intelligible. But that aside, I don't care when people are Christian. In fact, I think for a lot of people, being Christian can be a really good thing. right?
Yes.
It could be a community builder. It could give your life a sense of purpose, a sense of reason. It could bring you closer to good virtues. It can make you a good person. There's a lot of good in Christianity, a fuck ton of good, right? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest, a lot of people just simply need faith, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think if we could agree that it's an inherently faith-based belief that isn't rooted within an empirical reason in our lines of evidence, that it's something that should be kept to yourself and only yourself. And I don't think that using this inherently faith-based belief to infringe or superimpose your values onto the lives of others, especially when you're restricting them from doing particular things, such as accessing healthcare, that's when it goes from being something that can be good, a community builder that brings you closer to good virtues and gives your life a reason, a sense of purpose, into a like weapon of hate and terror, right? So I think those are my thoughts. But yeah, I appreciate you for coming up, Zach, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, man. Once again, I appreciate you for your open-mindedness. That, you know, those are definitely good virtues. I think that you're on a good path. But let's go to move on to the next guest. Everybody, if you're in that queue, make sure that does indeed mean that you do indeed support Trump. We're going to go to get that next guest up on the live right now. While we're loading that next guest in, Noah, thank you for the $100 over on that YouTube super chat. Let's get 1,000 Noah W's down below in that chat. Noah says, sorry to correct you, but Trump was a Republican until the 99, then from 2009 to 2011. Okay, so I actually didn't know that he joined the Republican Party in 1987. Thank you for correcting me, Noah. Good correction. Then also Warrior, thank you for the $10 over in Super Chat, saying, stroke and brain aneurysm Warrior here. Thanks for fighting for those that can't use their voices. Oh, I appreciate you for the love, and I'm so happy to hear that you're doing all right. Or at least I hope that you are doing all right. Thank you for the $10. Jason, what's going on? Do you support Trump? All right, Jason isn't here. Notice me. What's up? Are you MAGA? All right.
Yes, I'm MAGA.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
Okay, you come up here like every other day, right?
Can I speak to you once a week and we can make a deal?
dude, join.
Like actually, just once a week. Maybe like every
listen,
Monday. I
listen.
can come up for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie.
We have good discussions.
I'll be honest. I do have better discussions with you than I do have on the with the average person that comes on this live.
5 minutes. That's all I want. 5 minutes.
No, because we've talked a billion times. But I will tell you.
It will be a new topic.
Listen, I'm gonna make a recommendation to you. There's like a billion smaller debate lives that are like always going on TikTok, regardless.
Yeah, but you're fun. Wait. Let me just say one thing to you. Then you can kick me.
No, I'm kicking you now. I'm sorry, man. But I will say we have had good conversations. I will say that we have had good convos. What's going on? Do you support Trump?
Yeah, I do.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, and why the hell do you support the worst president of your life?
Well, I think he's a great president. So I was born in Mexico. I immigrated here illegally, and that's why I support him.
Okay, you immigrated here illegally and you support him?
Yeah, legally. So the reason I don't support illegal
I thought you said illegally. Please tell me I'm not the only one that heard that.
How would I vote for him if I was illegal?
You wouldn't have been able to vote. Okay, so that's good that you recognize that undocumented immigrants can't vote. A lot of Republicans say otherwise. But anyway, so you immigrated here legally and you support him. Why?
They legally can't vote. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been up here since the beginning of your live, and I just heard a lot of misinformation coming from you. And, like, at the beginning, you said Trump doesn't support aid for Gaza.
Yep.
So, in April 25th, 2025, he says we have to be good to Gaza. Those people are suffering. There's a very big need for food and medicine, and we're taking care of it.
Okay, and this is coming like what, a month or two after?
May 4th, 2025. We're going to help the people of Gaza get
Gaza,
some food.
and he even particularly recommended to Benjamin Netanyahu to cut off aid, in which then led to Netanyahu cutting off aid. And honestly, if he has said that he cares about the people in Gaza, he was a big fat liar. Because if he cared about the people,
he has
in Gaza,
multiple times, and so May 4th, he said we're going to help the people of Gaza get some food. People are starving. We're going to help them get some food.
Maybe I might know what he's saying. Maybe he's going to help them get food by ethnically cleansing them all to Jordan and Egypt, because he said he was going to do that too.
No, it's called they're getting asylum in Egypt. Ooh. I thought you guys support asylum seekers.
Ooh, I have a question.
Wait, so you guys don't support asylum seekers? This isn't my main point. This is just a quick point.
I
to
support
say
asylum.
that you just spread misinformation.
I support asylum, but I don't support ethnic cleansing.
He does support aid to Gaza. He might even recognize them as a state. So what would you say if he did that?
Well, what I do...
Would you support Trump in that?
So I would like you to allow me to speak. He explicitly expressed reservations about sending any and all aid to Gaza, and he said so publicly. And then he even recommended to Netanyahu to cut off all aid. And I mean, if like it's a month or two later now, and he's saying that he cares about the people of Gaza, I mean, he's a big fat fucking liar because of his intentional and express plan that he talked about at a press conference with Netanyahu to expel and ethnically cleanse the 1.2 remaining Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip. I mean, if anything, I know that you're trying to come up here, get a dunk, say that I'm the liar because in the last month he's expressed good, virtued intentions towards Palestinians. Okay, well, please tell me how. In one breath, he could say he wants to ethnically cleanse 1.2 million Palestinians living there. Then in the next breath, he could say
asylum, not ethnical cleansing.
Define ethnic
He
cleansing.
pressured Israel to reopen aid crossings.
Define ethnic cleansing.
I'm telling you, it's
No, I hear you typing on your keyboard.
You're making the claim, right?
I hear you typing on your keyboard.
You're making the
right
claim,
thing.
though. I'm not the one making the claim that it's ethnic cleansing. You're making the claim that it's ethnic cleansing. I'm telling you it's asylum.
Right.
They're going to Egypt for asylum. You're saying it's ethnic cleansing.
It is ethnic cleansing. You were just typing on your keyboard.
It's not.
Listen, sir.
So who's getting unalived?
Sir, would you mind if you allow me to finish? So you were just typing on your keyboard. That's what I want.
Right here, the definition literally says the mass explosion
now I'm going to go ahead and mute you because you're
unalivement.
interrupting me. So you're just typing on your keyboard. That's what I want you to do.
Of course you are.
I want you to type on your keyboard ethnic cleansing definition and read it out.
That's what I was trying to do, but you muted me. I says
Because
the
you were
mass
interrupting me.
expulsion or unaliving of members of an ethnic. You just interrupted me. So the mass expulsion or killing of members of an unwanted ethnic or religious group in a society. They're not being unalived, and it's not a specific ethnic or religious group. It's called asylum seeking. They're seeking asylum in Egypt, which is what they need. So again, I thought you guys supported them getting aid, but you don't want them to get aid in Egypt. Second of all, he pressured Israel to reopen aid crossings on May 19, 2025.
That you just gave
Hold on, this is a quick point. I don't even want to talk about Israel or Palestine. This is just to point out that you're spreading misinformation. He publicly committed himself to give food aid on May 4th, 2025. He reiterated support for food and medicine on May 5th. He had diplomatic discussions for aid on April 25th, 2025. He acknowledged starvation crisis on May 16, 2025. These are all things that he's doing to recognize that they need aid, and he is promising to give them aid. So again, what would you say if Trump recognized them as a state?
Okay, so thank you so much. You made 3 points. The first point you made was to define ethnic cleansing, and you maybe gave me 2 sentences how you don't believe that Donald Trump's plan fits that definition. The second point you made was to give me a timeline of a series of events where Donald Trump has expressed on multiple occasions that he wants to give aid to Palestinians. And then the third point that you said was, what would I say if he wants to recognize him as a state? So we'll go top to bottom. So with the last point, what would I say if he wants to recognize him as a state? I'd be wary. Okay, the reason why I would be wary about that is because he's expressed that he believes that the Gaza Strip belongs to Israel. So if he did recognize him as a state, well, he'd probably only recognize parts of the Palestinian state as a part of the Palestinian state, which would just be giving other parts of the Palestinian state to Israel in the eyes of the U.S. So that could actually be a bad thing based upon the land and or region that he recognizes. And then once again, to your second point, you saying that he's expressed on multiple occasions that he's promised to give them aid. Well, he's also promised to ethnically cleanse them. So, like, I mean, like, what direction do we lean? Is he maybe saying that they'll have aid after they're ethnically cleansed in Jordan and Egypt? Okay, and then now this honestly bleeds into the first point that you made, saying that ethnic cleansing can be defined as the forceful expulsion or killing of a group of an unwanted ethnicity or religious or religion. Okay, so this is exactly what his plan is. So he wants to forcefully remove all 1.2 million Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip. The way he wants to forcefully remove all 1.2 million Palestinians living on the Gaza Strip is to literally kick them out of their houses, demolish every building that remains, flatten the land, and then expel them to Jordan and Egypt. And then once they're expelled from the region, he told Hannity on Fox News that he wants to give them no right to return ever again. And then he wants to build a Riviera and give it to the state of Israel. So his plan perfectly fulfills all necessary criteria of the definition of ethnic cleansing. Forceful expulsion of an unwanted ethnic group. All right, that is what he wants to do. That is what he said he's going to do. That is what he agreed to do at a press conference with Netanyahu. And my last point here is that you try to come up here acting as if I'm the one spreading misinformation. You're the one spreading misinformation, sir. And I just listed out many reasons why.
Yeah, with no source.
Sorry, I invited you to.
I gave you exactly sources. Yeah, I gave you. Can you hear me? Because you were lagging a little bit. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you want to respond to any of the things that I just said?
Okay. Yeah. Again, so those were all things that you said without any sources, and I gave you exact dates and sources as to how he's supporting aid for Palestine, which is what your initial claim was. That was misinformation. So none of what I said was misinformation. Those are exact dates and quotes from him. And then you also made the claim that he tried to creep on young teens in change rooms and pageants. Those were claims made from 2016 from BuzzFeed, and the clip that you played was him actually defending himself, saying they were grown women, and that he's able to go back there because he is the owner. And there's even been other Miss USA, whatever, Miss Universe pageants, women contestants that have actually defended Trump, saying that those allegations are not true.
Okay. Well, I mean, you just contradicted yourself because you said that him speaking on the clip that I play is him defending himself from allegations that BuzzFeed made in 2016. Okay, well, that's a clip from 2005. How could he be defending himself against allegations made in 2016 in 2005?
I'm saying because there's allegations from probably back then. That's why he was talking about it. He was saying that he can go back there because he is the owner of the pageant. That's what he's explaining. And you made the claim that it was teens, and nowhere in that clip that underage contestants, none of them were mentioned.
Oh, okay.
And other contestants have actually defended Trump, saying those aren't true. Like those claims aren't true. That he's a creep or anything like that. The girl
I'd like to
tried
make it
making the
clear-
claim. Hold on.
Oh, you have more.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right, I'll go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you're saying that it was naked adult women that he perved on without consent while they were changing in a space with no.
He never said he perved on them. He said he was just able to go back there because he's the owner.
Would you consider going into a women's changing room where there's no men around and looking at the naked women as pervy?
I mean, you could. It depends, right? Like if you're saying so, it's because it's a man. It might be pervy. Hold on. So you arguing because it's a male? Okay. So would you be against like trans people going into women's bathrooms because it might be perving on women?
So I think that trans women are women, and I'm all right with trans women going into the women's restroom, and we could have a conversation about that. But I'm not going to allow you to scapegoat trans people as a way to evade my argument that is very commonsensical.
No, I'm
that
just
being
trying to
that
see
it
where
is
you stand on
pervy
this.
for Donald Trump to walk backstage into a woman's changing room and look at them while they're naked. I mean, that was a great attempt to pivot, but don't pivot, right? And then also you said that it was women.
You
It was
claim that it's pervy
No,
because he's a
I'm
man.
gonna allow
You made-
you're gonna allow me to finish to speak, and then also I'd like to clarify here that you said it was adult women, it wasn't teenage girls. Okay, well I don't think that it's demonstrably worse if it was women that he unconsensually perved on while they were naked compared to teenage girls. But if you're curious, yes, this is something he did at Miss USA, which would be women, and Miss Teen USA. Yeah. So if you're curious, we actually know one of these women who was a teen that he perved on. Her name is Victoria. Victoria comes up onto this live every once in a while, and Victoria will personally tell you about how.
BuzzFeed.
So if you interrupt me again, I'm just gonna I don't know, kick you. I don't.
Sure,
know.
you want to drop me for any reason. I'm sure you're looking for any reason to drop me, but I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Wait. If I was looking for any reason to drop you, why would I warn you?
I'm gonna let you finish.
No, answer that question real quick. If I was just genuinely looking for any reason to drop you, why would I give you a heads up?
Well, it sounds like you're telling me that you want to drop me. You're like,
I'm just trying to
I'm probably gonna drop him. The reason I dropped this guy is because he's interrupting me, guys. Just so all the 13,000 people in here know, it's not because I can't debate him. It's because he's interrupting me. But go ahead, please.
So no, I just gave you a warning. I was like, if you continue to interrupt me every time I speak, I'll probably move on to the next guest. If I was just looking for a reason to drop you, what I would do is I would drop you and then tell my chat that I dropped you because you were interrupting me. No, but I'm giving you a heads up. I'm giving you a warning. I'm setting the boundary, making it clear. You continue to incessantly interrupt. I'll kick you, move on. It's as simple as that. But anyways, back to what I said. He did this to both teenagers and adult women. But if you want to say that he was talking about adult women that he did this to in that clip, can we agree that it was very bad for a man to perv on naked women while they're changing in their space where there's no men around? And then to defend it, saying that he could get away with it because of a power imbalance, that power imbalance being that he owned it? Why would I want to kick you when I have you in a generational logical headlock here?
Again, you're claiming that he's perving on him because he's a man, right? just inherently. That's why he's perving, because he's a man. He said he's back there because he has to make sure everyone's good.
Oh,
You're saying because
wait,
he's a man, he's
wait, did you
pervy.
believe that? Wait. In the
That's
clip,
why.
even in the clip, it's set up as a joke.
You're gonna interrupt me.
Even in the clip, it's set up as a joke. So he says, like, in like a joking demeanor, like, oh, I just have to go inspect them, you know, like trying to apply any legitimate reason to him just going back there to look at the quote unquote beautiful naked women. And I mean, it's like, this is a social cue that even like Howard Stern and everybody else on that radio show caught on. Like Howard Stern, when he said that, then laughed. And then the woman was like, right, yeah, you have to inspect them, right. And I mean, then even at the end of the clip, he says, I could sort of get away with things like that, which just like explicitly and verbally affirms that he's just going back there to look at naked women while they change. Okay. So I just want to clarify that when he says it will use it's inspecting them. Okay. Why would a business owner need to inspect naked women changing?
Again, I said he can go back there because he's the owner. Can you not?
So you're basically saying that he has a legal ability to do it, therefore it's okay?
I didn't say anything about legality. No laws involved.
Like if owners can just go into a women's private spaces like changing rooms or bathrooms. So I mean, if you were at a Walmart and the CEO of
No,
Walmart
you're
was
saying
there,
men
and they
are
walked into
inherently
the
free.
women's restrooms, like I just want to clarify, you'd be fine with that? It'd be okay since they were the owner?
What?
Yeah.
No, I'm
he
saying the
can
owner
do
of
it.
the
So I just want to
establishment.
clarify
No.
that you think it's okay because he was the owner. You think it was okay
So, for
for
example,
the man
if-
to perv on naked changing women without their consent against their will because he owned the space?
So, for example, if there's a woman's bathroom and someone thinks there's something happening in there, the owner who has the key can legally walk in there because it's his establishment. Yes or no?
So you're saying that they have the legal ability, sure. I mean, I bet he did have the legal ability. There's never charges pressed. But I don't think that having the legal ability to do something makes it okay. Like, for instance, 250
But
years ago,
you're claiming it's not
having
okay.
having the legal ability, people had the legal ability to rape their slaves. So are you saying that him perving on the naked teenagers and women was okay for the same reasons that it was okay in your eyes for a slave owner to rape enslaved individuals?
And that's where we differentiate in opinion. You think he's perving on them because he's a man, and inherently, I don't think men are pervs. So, because if you believe that men are pervs, any man that's inside a woman's space is perving on women, then that's.
I think that we
Oh,
should
you're
just
gonna mute
play
me
the
then?
clip. I want everybody to make sure
No,
that
I'm just pointing out the fact that you muted me and you were claiming I was interested.
I
Go
am
ahead.
muting you because I'm going to play the clip just so everybody
You
knows
can't debate me.
exactly what he's saying about. I'm debating you right now, and seemingly everybody thinks I'm winning, and so do I.
How can you debate me if you don't let me make an argument?
Well, because your argument is like incredibly perverted, incredibly morally grotesque, and has my mouth wide open.
Actually,
Like,
yours is. You're claiming
I
men are
don't think
perverts.
that you
So are you a
saying
pervert?
that I don't
Hold on.
think.
So are you a pervert?
No, because I haven't walked into
Okay.
teenage girls and women's changing rooms to perv on them while they were naked and then talked about how beautiful they looked without their consent, against their will, while they were in a space with no men around, and then admitted that I could get away with things like that, then bragged that on top of hitting on a 10-year-old girl, on top of being held civilly liable for raping a woman, on top of agreeing with Howard Stern, calling my own daughter a hot piece of ass. So when you sit here and you tell me, oh, you're just calling him a pervert because he's a man. You're just calling him a pervert because he's a man. No, I'm calling him a pervert because he's a man that took advantage of his power, walked into a space that was for women, designed by women, with only women in it, that felt comfortable de-dressing, being naked, to change into clothes because there was no men around, that upheld that societal expectation in that space to be around no men, to then have that men walk into that space, look at them while they were naked with no clothes on, and then talk about how good they look. That's what I'm calling pervy, and the fact that you can agree with me, even as it relates to women, but sure as hell 15-year-old girls like Victoria is fucking insane. You're a threat to society. But let's go ahead and roll the clip because I just want to make sure
Can I reply
everybody
and crash
watching.
out like you did for a minute?
No, I don't think that you have a right to crash out like I do. But let's go ahead and play the clip for everybody
inherently
listening
wrong,
that
but-
doesn't know what we're talking about. Because after I play this clip and then you start talking again, I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, okay? Everybody's on the same page. So let's go ahead and roll the clip. Keep in mind, everybody, this clip and the actions that Donald Trump is describing that he's done in the clip that I'm about to play, it's only around 40 seconds long, is something that this guest is describing as non-problematic, okay, and non-perverted at all. Let's go ahead and roll it.
interest, but it's the kind of thing you worry about later.
Oh, I see.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed? No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And
What you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Defend it.
So you claimed it was So you claimed there was teenagers involved, underage contestants. Where in that interview, where in that clip do they mention underage teenagers?
Oh yeah,
And that's where the claim was. And then also,
the reason.
hold on.
You don't expect me to answer your question?
I mean, I was gonna make two questions, but go ahead.
Yeah,
answer that one.
The reason why I make the claim about women and teens is because we know one of those teens. Her name's Victoria. She comes up here frequently.
Right, and that's when I told you that her claim was made on BuzzFeed in 2016. So anyone who wants to believe anything that comes from BuzzFeed,
so she's been talking about it since 2016. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
she waited until he ran for president. If she had, maybe credible evidence, not a BuzzFeed claim.
Well, I think his admission is
would have went to the police, maybe like sued him. Be a lot more credible than going to BuzzFeed and making a wild claim in 2016.
So I think the clip I just played is credible evidence.
That's just to point out you misconstrue everything.
The clip I just played is credible evidence. I mean, by the way, if anybody in here has Victoria friended, feel free to send this live to her. I'd love for her to come up.
You're interrupting every time I speak, just so you know.
I don't really care anymore. And I don't really think anybody watching has any massive problems either with me muting you and kind of interjecting and cutting in and saying things that are incredibly relevant to what you're saying. But I think maybe one big takeaway here is that you're just denying that this happened to teenagers. Okay. Well, I can't wait for Victoria to come up here and tell you her story, then just have you victim blame her too. But
anecdotal evidence.
But I think what's important here is it's not anecdotal evidence when it's corroborated by Donald Trump's own admission of guilt. Is in that clip, Donald Trump is definitely talking about doing this to women. Okay, and I don't think that it's any more wrong to do this unconsensually to women than to teenagers. Right? And you were saying that him doing this to women was not wrong, not problematic, completely acceptable, completely fine and okay, and not pervy. So how about we address that?
What, the fact that it's not perverted?
Sure, defend that claim after listening to the clip that you just heard.
Yeah, you're claiming it's perverted because it's Donald Trump, because he's a man? Or, so again, what is the reason that you think it's perverted?
Yeah,
because would you do the same? Because if you went in backstage, hold on.
Don't ask me.
Well, you first hold on. I'm trying to answer. So you made the claim that he called them beautiful. Apparently, that's perverted. Now, if you recognize a woman as beautiful, or if you recognize a woman as pretty, or if you call her pretty, apparently that's not perverted.
Can we? Guys, do we want to take a poll on how many brain cells this guy has? This guy's an idiot.
Dude, why are you getting so triggered?
Do I sound triggered?
You are. You're literally insulting me now because you can't debate me and you're starting to mute me. I've never seen this from you. Actually,
I just want to clarify. Right. Not every time person A calls person.
You're acting up.
One moment. Not every time person A calls person B an idiot or says that person B doesn't have many brain spells or isn't that smart. That's not always indicative of somebody being upset, angry, triggered, or wrong. Sometimes people are idiots. I think when you set forth the president that whenever anybody calls anyone else an idiot, they're automatically wrong and triggered. Well, the implication there is that there's 0 idiots alive. Okay, that's not true. Some of us are idiots, and my claim is just simply that you're one of those people. All right. The reason why I claim
you should be able to defend your point of view.
Yeah, I'm defending it right now. So the reason why I think you're one of those people, the reason why I think that. One second. An ad hominem is disputing your argument with a personal attack. I'm just personally insulting you. But anyways,
that's what you just did.
The reason why I think that you're an idiot is because you think the fact that Donald Trump has called a woman beautiful in the context of that clip where he's talking about unconsensually walking into a woman's changing room, looking at naked women,
unconsensually, that's a wild claim,
and then calling them beautiful is probably the issue. The reason why I'd call that action perverted is I fear commonsensical. So we have these things called societal contracts. These could be implicit or explicit. I'll give you an example of an implicit societal contract. An example of an implicit. One moment. Don't interrupt me. An example of an implicit societal contract is the idea that when you go to a restaurant, you implicitly accept that the food you order is something you will pay for after your meal. All right. It's not like you have to explicitly agree to that when you sit down. It's not like you have to explicitly agree to that when you get a table. It's something that you implicitly accept. And I mean, like, we see these implicit societal contracts in schools as well. Like, it's an implicit societal contract that if, like, you're a 45-year-old dude, you can't just walk into an elementary school classroom. And another place where we see these implicit societal contracts are, like, in women's restrooms or, like, changing rooms. And, like, oftentimes it's even explicit. But there's definitely, like, an implicit understanding and contractual agreement between the people and, like, a safe and sanctity in a safe place, such as a women's changing room, that these individuals are only comfortable with de-dressing, taking their clothes off, being naked, and putting new clothes on because, like, it's just a space with other women like them, right? And I mean, like, Donald Trump even, like, mentions this in the recording that I just played because he says there's no men around. It's a space just for women. Right? So, I mean, if there's a man that goes into that space, like, it's going to be violating that implicit contract, violating the implicit consent of all of the women in that space that have taken their clothes off. And that's going to be perverted because the intentions of the man in this circumstance was to look at them while they were naked, right? But they weren't naked so they could have a man look at them. They were naked so they could get new clothes on, surrounded by other women in a women's changing room. All right. And then he takes it one step further by saying when he's unconsensually looking at these naked women that didn't get naked so any man could look at them, but rather so they could change, that they looked very beautiful. All right. And I think that's very violating. It's violating for the reason that he's violating their consent. It's violating for the reason that they're not naked for a man to look at them. And it's violating for the reason that when he did non-consensually look at them while they're naked, he then turns around and talks about how good they look. Right? And I think that Donald Trump, like, recognizes, like, these violations of these implicit societal contracts and of consent, because at the end of that clip, he says that he could get away with these things. Okay, well, you don't say that you could get away with good things, okay, because we should do good things, right? When you say that you could get away with things, you're saying that you could do bad things and face no consequences. Anyways, there's why you're wrong, and there's why you look crazy.
Okay. So I mean, I'm glad that you were able to speak for like a solid 2 minutes. Am I able to respond now?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, you just made a great argument as to why trans women shouldn't be allowed into women's spaces because the women in there, don't agree. They didn't sign anything explicitly saying that, yeah, I'm okay with someone who was born a man going into my changing rooms. That's why I pointed out your hypocrisy, and you wanted to deflect from that. So again, if you're claiming that a man shouldn't go into a woman's space because men are going to look at them and are going to be inherently creepy, so then that's why we shouldn't let trans women into women's bathrooms. That's an amazing point. Thank you for that amazing argument.
Yeah, so I have
But
reasons
again,
why I still think that trans women should be able to use women's restrooms, and I've already asserted and addressed that. And I mean, I'd be interested in giving you an argument, but the only reason why I'm not interested
no, I
in
don't need
giving
one. It's
you
okay.
the only reason why I'm not interested in giving you an argument right now is because you're just using this to pivot. You're using this to pivot away from the fact that you said
Amazing
that
you
you
brought that
found
up. Yes.
nothing wrong, nothing perverted about Donald Trump going into that space. Right? And I actually find it funny that you're trying to pivot away from your position, that you find nothing wrong nor perverted about Donald Trump walking into the women's restroom and my dismissal of your point. And then you use that to pivot a trans woman going in the women's restroom.
I will address that right now.
It's actually funny because then the implication here is if you think that my position would logically imply that trans women shouldn't be able to go into the women's restroom because I think it's wrong for Donald Trump to go into a women's changing room, well, your position would imply the inverse, meaning that you think your position implies that trans women should go into the women's restroom.
I haven't.
But this transphobe
My argument.
won't admit that. So
I
that's
haven't
why your pivot is disingenuous, and that's why
I've done
your
something.
pivot is intellectually flawed. But no
I think-
pivots. I want you to
muting
say,
me and not being able to.
yeah, I'm muting you because you're interrupting me. It's not disingenuous to uphold decent boundaries.
You haven't let me speak.
But I don't expect you to understand this because we are unironically debating
Speak yet,
decent
though.
boundaries.
Because you're losing the debate, but that's okay.
I'm not. Once again, just upholding boundaries, no interruption. That's the
You're
boundary.
mute. You are losing.
We'll
Letting
wait
you
for him to
speak,
finish.
Let you speak for a solid
We'll
2
wait for him to
minutes.
do the thing. He's doing the thing. He's freaking out like a toddler. Sometimes you can't reason rationally. You just have to, do it emotionally like they do. This is like putting your toddler in timeout for 10 minutes. We're spam muting him until he stops interrupting me. But anyways, I wouldn't expect.
trying to
And there he goes. There he goes. We'll wait.
I wasn't trying to unmute.
There he goes. He's still interrupting me. But I just want to clarify. This is predictable. Like this guy doing the whole, it's your fault that I interrupted you and you're the bad guy for enforcing a boundary by muting me when I interrupt you. We would expect that from this guy. He doesn't understand boundaries. He's defending Donald Trump violating the boundary of women in a women's changing room. But anyways, the final point. Without pivoting this time, tell me why I'm wrong. Convince me that the long list of reasons I gave you, while it was wrong and pervy for Donald Trump to go into the women's changing room, tell me why my argument's flawed. Go ahead.
Right, because other contestants from the pageants have defended him, saying he was not perverted. He was very professional. Again, you're implying that he is perverted because he called them beautiful. I think you can call a woman beautiful and
no, he's
obviously
perverted because he went into the space.
Okay, so I can't make an argument because you're crashing out. Go ahead, crash out again, Dean. Go ahead.
I'm not crashing out.
Not surprising.
You're just
not surprising from someone that needs to intake nicotine. But go ahead.
I'm not crashing out. You're just misrepresenting my argument. He was perverted because he was in the space, point blank, period.
Okay, so because he's a man, he is okay. That's fine. Amazing argument, Dean.
You went into this
so
space with
I'm glad you brought up the
intention of
deflection, though, because the
naked.
reason
Yep.
you even brought this up is to deflect from the Southern and immigration problem when the girl brought that up in the first place. When the girl tried to bring up immigration, you deflected and you always run from immigration, which is actually why I came up here in the first place, because I'm a Mexican immigrant myself. But again, just to make it clear, just because he called him beautiful doesn't make it perverted. He had full access to that whole building, so it was his pageant. Other pageant members have defended him, saying he is not perverted. He was very professional, cordial. The people that have accused him, they accused him on BuzzFeed in 2016. Again, you said they were teenagers. The clip was talking about adult women. And again, it might be wrong. Yeah, I think it's wrong that a man looks at an adult woman that's naked without her consent. And I think if they felt...
What if one of those contestants was your daughter?
Okay, so... You muted me again? I didn't realize you muted me. I don't know how much you heard.
What if one of those contestants was your daughter? So
I would be proud.
Let's just go through like a line of the things that Donald Trump has done. So in 1992, he told a 10-year-old girl that he'd be dating her in 10 years.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Let's assume that one moment. Let's assume that 10-year-old girl was your daughter. Okay. Donald Trump tells your daughter that he'd be dating her in 10 years. 10 years later, she's 20. It's 2005. And she's at the Miss USA pageant backstage, naked, getting dressed. Donald Trump walks into there, looks at her while she's naked, then goes on Howard Stern's podcast and says that he could get away with it and she was super beautiful. And she did that without your daughter's consent. How would you feel?
So just to be clear, you're more afraid of your daughter being creeped on by Donald Trump, the president of the United States, than, a man dressed up as a woman going into the women's bathroom, just to be clear.
So this is your third time you've tried to pivot to talking about trans women.
Just to be clear, I'm just asking for a clarification.
Trans women.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, I mean, you just made a crazy hypothetical. What if this was your daughter who became a Miss Beauty pageant? Trump talked to her at 10 years old, and then she became 20 years old. And that's the craziest hypothetical ever, and you can't even address the point that I made. That's actually very relevant. The fact that you think your daughter is in more danger from the president of the United States, Donald Trump, than by any guy who can put on a wig and a dress and walk into the women's bathroom.
Yeah, you continue to try to pivot to trans people.
I don't want to talk about.
That's a fourth time, and I think that it's funny that you try to. So I think it's funny that this whole time you've just wanted to pivot to a conversation about trans individuals.
I'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk about trans people.
I begrudgingly, I haven't given you my argument on why I think that trans. Hey, buddy, don't interrupt me. I haven't given you my argument on why I think that trans women should be able to use the women's restroom, because when I do give you my argument, you'll just simply use it as a tool to pivot away from the only conceptually relevant thing here, in which is that you deny that sick men are sick men, and I think that you should fucking, dude, I think that you should lose rights for that shit. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to have children, you shouldn't be allowed to get married to a woman. I think that you're a threat to society, you should lose rights for that shit. But that's neither here nor there. Overwhelmingly, right, if you're curious on what my response would be to the 5 times that you've tried to pivot to trans women using the women's restroom, I think segregating the restrooms on the basis of gender identity to compare it to sex is actually safer for both the cis and trans women in the space. The reason why I say that is because if we do segregate the restrooms on the basis of sex, that means that trans men, females, should be using the women's restroom, but trans men can be more masculine or just as masculine presenting as cis men because of the effect that testosterone has on any human body. So when we segregate segregate the restrooms on the basis of sex. It allows for more masculine presenting individuals to go into the space. Meanwhile, if we were to segregate it on the basis of gender identity, relatively speaking, it would allow less masculine presenting individuals to use the space because trans men are more masculine presenting on average compared to trans women. So basically, there would be a lower there'd be a lower likelihood that a cis man would be able to claim themselves as a trans woman and take advantage of women in the space compared to them simply claiming themselves as a trans man, right? So there's the argument. Finally, I'm finally.
I made
giving
it clear I
I'm
don't want to
finally
talk about
giving-
it.
Of course, you don't want to talk about it because you can't beat me there either. That's fine. So then don't try to pivot to it 5 times to call me an idiot hypocrite just because you want to deflect
No, you're
from the one point you can't deflect, which is the fact that if that 10-year-old girl was your daughter that Donald Trump said he would date in 10 years, and then 10 years later, she was a contestant at Miss USA, and then he unconsensually walked in on her while she was naked, and then went on a podcast and blasted about how beautiful she was with her boobs out, how would that make you feel? How would that make you feel,
Well, you just made
sir? What do you think that he was a
Well, you just
pervert?
made the claim unconsensual. You just made the claim unconsensual. Are you saying that people don't know that they're changing in a changing room?
I'm saying that they don't consent to a man walking in on them while they're changing in the changing room. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of common sense.
Okay, so just to be clear, every woman in a woman's space should consent to who's going inside.
Every woman in a woman's space agrees to the implicit societal contract that it is once again a space for women. As you pointed out, it's implied in a woman's space, just like every person that buys a meal at a restaurant agrees to an implicit societal contract that when they're done eating their food, they're going to pay for it.
You just made my
that's the
argument.
implication
Thank
of
you,
women's spaces. So then once again, please answer the question.
I don't
If
have
it
to
was
say
your
anymore.
10-year-old, you're not going to say shit because you got fucking owned. See, this is the
just-
burn. This is the burn, buddy. How does it feel to get absolutely
You just made my
intellectually
argument for me.
mobbed
Repeat it again,
by a
Dean.
motherfucker
Repeat it again,
that is
Dean.
a billion
Repeat it
times
again,
more
Dean. You just
intelligent
made
than
my
you,
argument for
more
me.
wise, more mature, and better than you in every regard
You're crashing
whatsoever.
out. Your ego's just huge and you're crashing out. Want me to turn my camera on?
God, it's fucking crazy because I don't even have an ego. You're just a
I
fucking
mob you?
rock, bro. Anybody
I mob
with
you?
half of a brain, anybody
camera on so I can
with
mob you.
half human, human decency would mog the fuck out of you. This isn't about ego. I'm so sorry. My fucking family dog could claim that they're infinitely more intelligent
just
than
made
you,
the
and they'd be
argument as
right.
to why
My
trans women
fucking
shouldn't go-
2-year-old toddler could make the claim that they're more
Why are you
intelligent
crashing
than you,
out,
and
bro?
they'd be right. So it's
Is
not
this
about an
new?
ego.
Is this new for you, the whole crashing out, or is this just me?
If you think that this is a crash out, you obviously haven't been here long enough.
I mean, you're yelling over me and you muted me. I didn't see you do that to anybody else that was up
Yo,
here. when
Milo,
they're
thank
very
you so much for the
unintellectual.
$15 over on PayPal. I appreciate you for the claim,
smart,
Milo.
you don't
One
mean
second, I'm thinking donors. Milo with $15. Milo says, I watch you in the background while I draw.
Who donated me? Thank you, guys.
Shh, I'm thinking some donors. Milo
The
with
3.1K.
Milo says, thank you and happy Pride Month, Dean. Happy Pride Month, Milo. I appreciate you for the $15 over on PayPal. As well as Celine, thank you for the $15 on PayPal as well. Shout out to Milo and Celine down below in that chat. I really appreciate you guys so much for the love. I'd also like to thank, let's see here, Ali for the $50 on Venmo. This was about an hour ago. I just hadn't been looking at my phone because I was just destroying this guy for an hour straight. God, I'd hate to be this guy right now. Ali says, I missed the live yesterday due to work, but thank you. I watched it this morning for what you said about mental health in schools. It should be a much bigger priority. I agree 110%. Thank you so much for the $50, Ali. Show some love to Ali down below in that chat. And then Christine with the $50 on Venmo 10 minutes ago saying that this current sexual assault sympathizer caller is insane and a danger to society. Kudos to you for dealing with that. Thank you so much for the love, Christine. Show some love to Christine down below in that chat, and that's absolutely right.
Condemned the SA and rape.
No,
Fully
you don't.
condemn that.
No, so I have a question.
I do.
How come that
You
you'll
did it
condemn
right now.
rape, but you won't condemn a man unconsensually walking into a woman's changing room and perving on them while they're naked?
You're the one making the claim that it's perving on them. I'm telling you that he wasn't perving on them. So
Okay, sure. We'll replace the word
Based
perving with
on-
looking.
based-
So how come
based
you'll say
on
that
reports
rape
from
is
others-
bad, but then you won't say that it's wrong for me
Based
to
on rep-
unconsensually walk into a woman's changing room and look at them while they're naked without their consent against their will, and then go on a podcast and blast about how good
that
their
you
boobs
have
look?
to mute me. Why can't I talk? The fact that you have to mute me proves that you can't debate me, dude. Again,
wait, I'm so
you're
sorry.
making the
Wait,
claim
wait.
that he
Why
is
should I respect your wants, your thoughts, your desires, and your feelings about me intruding upon you by muting your microphone when you won't respect the thoughts, feelings, and desires of women changing in a woman's space, in a woman's changing room, and yet you don't think it's wrong for men to walk into that space? I'm not so sure that you're concerned with
You
consent,
support-
so why should I be concerned with your consent?
Dean, you support women going into women's bathrooms. I mean, trans women going into women's bathrooms. So
Okay, let me
again,
know
you're
when
being
you're
a
done.
hip.
I didn't mute you. You muted yourself.
I told you it's not perverted because you.
Oh, now it's a MAGA mobile. I'm not even muting him. I don't know what's going on. I'm not muting him. Hands in the air, guys. Anyways, I guess he's figuring out whatever he wants to do. So let me know when I can speak. I have my hand up.
Yeah, I get to speak now, finally?
I guess I should say one more thing. So this is now your 7th time bringing up that I support trans women in the women's restroom. For the first 4 times you brought this argument up, I just told you that you were
amazing arguments as to why they shouldn't go into those bathrooms.
One moment. The first 4 times you brought this position up, I just ignored it. I said you're pivoting. Address the substance of Donald Trump perving.
I don't want to talk about trans people.
So Torta, this is why
I'm not pivoting to that.
This is why I've muted you, because you interrupted me. So can you stop that? Can you stop interrupting me and allow me to finish?
Wait, you said we can interrupt each other if we misconstrue each other's arguments, and that's what you just did to me.
I'm not misconstruing your argument, because I'm not even talking about an argument that you gave. I'm talking about the points in which you've brought up, like the fact that you've responded to me referencing Donald Trump unconsensually walking into women's restrooms and changing rooms 7 times, and then all 7 times you responded to that by bringing up the fact that I'm okay with trans women going into women's restrooms. So the first 4 times you brought
I brought up the fact that other pageant members
Torta,
defend him and say he's professional.
So Torta, I am going to go ahead and kick you if you interrupt me one more time. I'm making this boundary clear, and the reason I'm making this boundary clear is because if you violate the boundary and you interrupt me again, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to consider you to be a runner. Like the only reason that you could have to interrupt me one more time would be the fact that you want to run from me because you cannot take my intellectual wisdom and my great debate performance. So obviously, if you interrupt me again, that means that you've lost, you bow out, and you're running because you want me to kick you. Got to talk like they do. Got to use their own reasoning against them. But anyways, right? So you brought up the counter argument of saying, Dean, well, this must imply that you don't support trans women in the women's restroom. The first 4 times you brought this up, I just simply called out the fact that you're pivoting and told you not to pivot. And then the 5th time that you brought this up, I finally entertained it. I gave you an argument why I actually think it's better for the safety of all women in the women's restroom for trans women to use the space. And then when I gave you the argument, you didn't respond and you said that you don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, if you don't want to talk about it, if you don't want to refute my position, then don't fucking bring it up. But yeah, man, without pivoting to trans women this time, respond to the meat on the bone. And if you need me to repeat the meat on the bone because you're so lost and stupid that you probably can't track a single 2-syllogism argument, let me know and I will repeat it for you.
Okay, I'm going to talk now. I'm sorry that I'm triggering you. I'm sorry you're getting mad. So again, I'm going to repeat it. Carrie Prejean defended Trump. She is Miss California USA 2009. She defended Trump, stating in her 2009 memoir that he is very professional and respectful, defending him against the accusations. So this suggests that, Trump was not being creepy. He was being professional and respectful. So why haven't you addressed that claim? The fact that other contestants in his pageants have defended him, saying that when he does go backstage, he is professional and respectful. And again, it's very wild that you use these claims from like 2001, 2000, whatever, early 2000s to deflect when that girl was bringing up immigration. You're a runner, dude. You're a runner. You're a track star.
Okay, so I actually debated that last woman on the live, not a girl, on immigration, as well as, I don't know if you weren't listening closely, but Tony, the guy that was left over, said that he came up here to talk to me about immigration. He asked me for my view on immigration, and I gave it to him. If anything, you're just deflecting. And then to respond to the first claim that you made, that there's been a lady that's defended him at the pageant, saying that he was professional and respectful. Well, earlier you told me, when I brought up Victoria's experiences of her being 16 and Donald Trump going backstage and looking at her while she changed, you said that you can't believe it because it's merely speculatory allegation. So it's funny that you could believe a woman when she says that Donald Trump is professional and respectful, but you can't believe a woman when they say that Donald Trump is not professional nor respectful. But I think let's go ahead and just believe her when she says that Donald Trump is being professional and respectful. Okay, well, what now? Well, I know what now, because it's not just an allegation that he wasn't being professional or respectful. He admitted to it in the clip I played. Like I find it very difficult to defend the view that Donald Trump walking in to a woman's changing room just to look at them with no clothes on. Is that professional? Because that's what he admitted to.
That's not what he admitted to. That's uncorroborated. And again, you're just making assumptions. You're claiming that he went in there to look at them undressed.
Could be a conflict of interest, but it's the kind of thing you worry about later.
Oh.
Yeah, please.
You tend to think about the.
You also made the claim teens were
The
involved.
question is, how can it not be construed? No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. Or I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. Or I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything
doctor.
is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away. No clothes. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
So what was that you're saying?
Did that make you feel like you won the argument?
I think, yeah, it did.
Hold on, did that make you feel like you?
Yes, the answer to your
That's very
question.
mature.
Yes, the reason it makes me think that I won the argument is because the very last thing
You're a
that came,
child, Dean.
the very last thing that came out of your mouth is that it was an
Frontal lobe hasn't
uncorroborated
developed.
false claim that he went in the rooms to look at the naked women. Yeah, I win. Thanks.
No, I think your frontal lobe hasn't developed, Dean.
Oh, personal insult. You lost.
No, that's not a personal insult. That's actual factual evidence. How old are you? How old are you, Dean?
I'm 20.
Exactly. Your frontal lobe hasn't developed, Dean. It's
Right.
not a personal
Right.
attack. It's just truth.
Yeah. No,
So
I
again,
get
so
it, man.
you
Cope
use these
Seeth,
claims.
Cope
from- you
Seeth,
use
Cope
these
Seeth,
clips-
Cope Seeth, please do it. Continue to compensate. I love it.
This is why you don't do nicotine, kids. Calm down, Dean. So
I-
again,
oh,
this is
guys,
exactly.
Guys, I love
Okay.
the Cope and the Seeth. I love it. It's so cute.
Bro, I'm completely calm. You're freaking out over here, and I'm trying to
You're
reply.
not completely calm. Like I played you a
trying to
clip of
reply
Donald
to the-
Trump contradicting what you said, and then you just started
trying
talking
to
about
reply
a
to-
frontal lobe.
I'm trying to reply to the clip you just played.
Go for it.
I'm trying to reply to the clip you just.
Oh, wait, before you do, I gotta thank Peter for the $50 donation on Venmo. Peter
Oh,
says,
thanks,
here's-
guys. I'm at 3.6 now. Thank you,
Oh,
guys.
he doesn't like the donations either.
Donations, guys.
Oh,
Thanks for the rose. Thank you, guys.
Oh, are the
Appreciate
donations
it.
making you crash out?
Make sure to follow Torta Patrol on TikTok and every other platform.
Is the fact that Peter
Kidding,
donated
guys.
me
Just
$50 just to say that I fucking
Thank you,
destroyed
guys.
this
Thank you,
putrid
guys.
Wait, can I read
Thank
you off?
guys. Can we go to immigration now? Because I'm a Mexican immigrant.
Oh,
So,
you
I
wanna
mean, that's the
pivot.
main reason I came up here. I just
So,
wanted to prove every
I need
bit
to-
of misinformation that you pointed out.
I need
Also,
to-
like the Diddy and Kamala thing. Kamala thanked Diddy for
I need
hosting
to-
the
oh, hey,
2020
hey, man,
town hall.
Stop crashing out,
He
please.
said, "Thank you, Diddy."
Hey,
Hey
please, sir.
everybody, it's good to be
Please,
with you this evening.
please stop crashing out. I was in the middle of thanking Peter.
You always
I'm gonna need you to stop crashing out. This guy's crashing out, everybody.
I was playing a clip of Kamala.
You're crashing out. I was thanking Peter. Would you mind giving
I'm
me?
okay.
Okay, then stop interrupting me while I thank my donors. Peter, thank you for the $50.
I was just thanking my donos, guys.
Oh, geez, this guy is crashing out. Peter with a $50 over on Venmo for destroying this putrid excuse of a man who's just exposing himself as a standard, insecure, coward, MAGA predator. Yeah, I fucking destroyed this guy. Now he's crashing out. Thank you for the $50. As well as Adriana, thank you for the $10 over on Venmo saying, can this guy get some brain cells? No, he can't. Natalie with a $20 saying, please keep muting him. Dude, I've been
No, I don't
just
use
destroying him
clips
this
from
whole
the
time.
early
Oh, wait.
2000s to try to-
Boom! I'm going to mute you because Natalie paid me $20 to do so.
Yes, for the
Marina,
roses.
thank you so much for the $10 over on Venmo. Melody with a $20. Thank you so much, Melon Y. Thank you so
I
much
think
for
you
the
guys
love.
donating is
Thank
making
you so
me
much for the
mad.
love. I also really appreciate
you
you,
guys
Jasper,
donating
for the
is making me
$6
mad.
over on Venmo, as well as Odessa with the $10 on Venmo. Mariah with a 200 Norwegian dollars over on YouTube Super Chat. I appreciate you guys so much for the love, as well as Andrew with a $20 over on PayPal. Money to the sea. Thank you for the love, Andrew. And Gerardo with a $200 donation on Venmo. Gerardo with the $200. Wait, 1 second.
Let's go.
Share.
4.1K. Let's go,
Sure.
guys. I love you guys.
Sure, I have
You
to
guys are the
thank
best.
Gerardo for the $200 donation over on Venmo for destroying this
donated.
coward. Let's go. Let's get 2,000 Gerardo W's
So
down
should we
below in
debate
the
about
chat.
immigration?
Sure, I'm still thanking Gerardo. Please, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
okay.
so much for the love,
Thank you
Gerardo.
guys for
Let's
the
get
donations.
2,000
Donations are still
Gerardo
coming
W's
in.
down
Damn,
below in the
thank you
chat.
guys. You guys are fucking awesome.
Yo, can you say W Gerardo?
Thank
real
you,
quick?
Uncle Jovi. You're awesome. Thank you, Kaz. Kaz with the sass. Definitely sassy. Matt Amaya. Oh, wait, no, that's to you. Never mind. Uncle Jovi. Damn, still going. Times 68.
By the way, the stream
Thank
can't
you.
hear you right now because
Koi,
you have to
Koi
mute
Price.
and
Thank
you have to
That's
mute
fine.
and unmute your mic for the
That's
TikTok
fine.
stream in order to hear you.
That's okay. Thank you guys for all the donations.
Could you thank Gerardo for donating me $200?
No, he didn't donate to me.
Okay. All right, man. All
Guys,
right, I'm
if
gonna
you support Mexican immigrants, make sure to donate.
I'm gonna go ahead and just
Guys,
give you.
that's it.
Yeah, this man can't even hold a conversation anymore. All right, I'm gonna kick you, but before
Are you gonna run away? You don't want to debate immigration?
I've just destroyed you as is. You could like
Gonna run over your
request.
track star?
You could request up a different day to debate immigration. I'm
away?
definitely done with you for the day.
Dean's gonna run away from Torta Patrol. Clip that. Dean, let's just debate immigration, bro. Why don't you want to debate a Mexican immigrant about immigration? Are you afraid of Mexican immigrants? Do you not like Mexicans? What is it? Why are
That
you
was cringe. I've been talking to you for an hour, and I don't think I've said.
Yeah, you
one
went in
single word.
circles about something from.
I was just gonna say I've been talking to you
You
for.
went in circles about something from 2006, dude. No one cares about what happened.
Dude, I've been
Let's
debating
talk
you
about
for.
what's happening now. Why can't you debate about what's happening now? Immigration.
I've been debating you for an hour, and I haven't been able to get a single sentence out. That's why I'm gonna kick you.
What are you talking about, bro? You crashed out for a solid 2 minutes. I literally have it all recorded.
That's
I'll
why.
make sure to
That's
clip
why.
that. Hold
That's
on, I'll
why.
make sure to
That's
clip
why.
that.
That's why I'm
I'm
gonna
literally
kick
gonna
you,
make a video of
dude.
you
If
saying-
you want to stay up here and debate about immigration, then stop interrupting me. If you seriously, if you want like the highest level of like possibility to stay up here and debating me about immigration, you just gotta stop interrupting. But anyway,
Set a timer.
There we go.
Set the timer.
Before I consider debating you about immigration, I'm going to need you to respond to the last claim you made. So the last claim that you made was that Donald Trump did not go into the changing rooms with the naked women to look at them while they're naked. I then played you a clip where he explicitly said he went into the changing rooms with naked women and he looked at them while they're naked. Respond to that, and I'll consider debating
You played a
about
clip
immigration.
where there was a joking humor demeanor, where Howard Stern made a joke prior to that saying, "Oh, Mr. Trump, I pay you with my private parts." So obviously they're joking around, and then Trump made the joke about how he can go backstage and look at women that are naked because he's the only person allowed to go back there. And then I told you how other contestants, other pageant members, have made it clear that he was
Oh, so I
very
just want to make
respectful.
clear. I just want to be sure that you don't think he actually did this.
Okay. I thought we weren't interrupting each other, Dean.
No, you're not interrupting me. That's the deal. So I just want to make sure that just to be
Talk
clear,
about losing a
that
debate.
you don't think that he actually did this?
I didn't say that. He definitely went backstage. It's very clear he went backstage
you said he was
because
joking.
one of the contestants weren't joking about. I said he had a joking demeanor about what he was saying. He was saying, "Oh, they're all naked."
Okay, so regardless if you think he had a joking demeanor, you still admit he actually did it. Thereby, you also admit that he actually walked back there to look at them while they were naked. Boom, get fucked. You lost.
You're gonna run away now, or
No, I just
Can I
pointed out.
reply?
I just pointed
No,
out the fact that
well,
you
I
just got
just told
fucked.
you,
I just pointed
I-
out the fact that you got fucked. The only way that you would be able to uphold the position that he didn't look at them naked backstage is if you uphold that it's something that he didn't do. So even if you argue that
That he
had
looked
a
at them
joking
naked
demeanor
backstage.
when he was talking to Howard Stern, well, you could say that he was joking, right? But apparently, according to you, he was joking about something that he actually did.
he's joking about why he was going back there when he actually went back there. Again, pageant members who are not Trump, who weren't in a joking setting.
Oh, yeah, I was joking about why I went back there. All right, let's go get the next guest up here.